Good morning, everybody. It's Jillian. Happy November. And yes, it is snow on the ground, snowy on the ground. Yes, we are entering into a cold period and the ultimate dark period, as Dr. Fauci, whatever his name is, and then everyone else in the mainstream media who peddles fear and ultimately peddles the fear of death and dismemberment, as well as rationalize it. The charismatics rationalize the death process, and that's in religion. So yeah, politics, religion, and science. I broke our society down because to those three things because those three things are the vehicles of control, the systems of control. And those who not only not fear death, but are able to, I don't want to say surpass it, no, conquer it. I mean, can you really conquer things that are out of your control? Well, those that have the ability to control their body, mind, and spirit to where they're not falling for the fears of death and dismemberment, they are the ones that will kind of laugh at all of what's going on. They're the ones that will not fall for the politics or the religion or the perception science. Science is science. It's how you want to view science and use science to support your thesis. Oh, yes, people are supposed to die cuz look, they're dying. Okay. And then I'm giving science, so as above so below. There's a science for life and there's a science for death. And those are the only two absolutes. So yeah. So when you look at everything, when you look at all of Hollywood, all of politics, all of the different media, the books, TV shows, journals, journalists, they are peddling the fear of death or demonizing someone who may have caused someone's death or rationalize death. Death, the fear of death and rationalize it, it's a multi-quadrillion dollar business. It really is. And so this is what I wrote this morning because I'm just like, I mean, it hit me this morning. Everything hits me in the morning. I really didn't have anything planned to say because I was just like last night. I made some noodle kugel and then my body was trying to process it. And since it's kind of like a new interesting food, I ate a lot because it's so good. So my body was just like letting it go. And so I was going through those processes, and it was a very, I wouldn't say intense, but it was definitely more intense than usual because I ate a lot more than usual. So my body was releasing more than usual. So here we go. The fear of death and rationalizing death is the ultimate control. Without manufactured change, life would become a series of predictable actions and reactions. Because, yes, when you're not fearing death and you're living in a peaceful society where somebody isn't always tugging at your heartstrings, someone isn't always tugging at your fear strings or anxiety strings, someone isn't always, because the reason why they're able to do that is because you give them that power. You don't know the formula to life, so you're always trying to find ways to bypass death and prolong your life. But we have never lived in a society where death was not the ultimate outcome. Death was always the ultimate outcome, but the buying and selling of time on your life is a multi-quadrillion dollar business. So without manufactured change. Now I understand with the whole daylight savings, I'm up. It's like 8:12 right now. I was up around 6:30, almost 7. It was because it's light outside. But prior to daylight savings, it was dark, so I was sleeping in till like 8 because we're in circadian rhythms. So if our society is based upon you get up at the crack of dawn or when it's light outside and you be productive, that's our society, and that's also what our body responds to is light versus dark. You go to sleep at night and then you get up and you're productive during the day. We are not nocturnal creatures, though we do have jobs where you do have to work graveyard, which it does work against you over time. So without manufactured change, okay, so yes, daylight savings is manufactured change. Life would become a series of predictable actions and reactions. So yeah, like physics, Newton's third law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, you can create cool stories and movies and articles and books. So you just look at all your Netflix, look at all of your movies on your little playlist, and you can see every single thing is an archetypal type of character based story, which somebody is selling you something that has to do with emotional grabbing types of stuff, whether it's Disney and the, Prince Charming, and then the evil one, there's like Maleficent, I mean, and that's the same type of archetypal formulaic story in probably everything. Just look right now what Biden and Trump are doing. They're playing off each other. Oh, he's evil. Oh, he's evil. I mean, it's so predictable now. It's almost laughable, and you almost have to just laugh at those that are responding to Trump and Biden because they're falling for that archetype because they don't know their own formula to life. They are taking cues from the system that says, okay, we want you to live, but eventually you're going to die, and we're going to control your time span, your lifespan. So without manufactured change, life would become a series of predictable actions and reactions. And then you can create cool stories and movies, articles, and books. However, imbalanced people make excellent salesmen. Well, look, but Trump and Biden, they're aging and degrading, and they make excellent salesmen. There's a huge baby boomer population that's so afraid to die. They're trying to find all the latest and greatest, protocols and biotechnological, types of inventions to give them maybe 20 years, they say, maybe 10 years. And so it's very easy to sell fear into people who are actively aging and degrading because they're now aware of their own mortality, and they're just trying to find somebody to give them a few more years, their perception of a few more years. But some of them don't have really that long because they're going to be subject to the COVID, and the COVID does exist, COVID-19. All right. So imbalanced people make excellent salesmen. When they can cause fear, anxiety, pleasure in a story to the point of you buying what they're selling, that is the addiction of triggering people's emotions to separate their money from their wallet. How many of you have bought so many different protocols, spent thousands and hundreds of dollars with the holistic allopathic world trying to find the path to whatever you think life is? But at this point, you've been told prior to J-Juice that you're supposed to die, so now you're just trying to buy a few years. But you don't really want a few years. You just want like maybe 5 or 10, or you want to be whatever the average is, right? The average lifespan on the actuarial tables for life insurance is like, what, 80 for a male, and maybe 90 for, or maybe 75 for a male and 80 or 90 for a female. And if you're lucky, you'd be like, Ruth Gator Ginsburg, who has been plied with so many chemicals that she was able to, prolong her life to the point of where, yeah, she was like a walking zombie. Bless her heart. I know she made some changes in our society, but she still is subject to the same, protocols out there that eventually you're going to die someday, right? So, so when there's an obvious and intentional death in the world, so there's an obvious, people expect to die. And so, yes, the charismatics in the politics, religion, and science, especially religion and spirituality, they will rationalize their death. They'll be like, oh yeah, we're going to ascend and go to a different, planet. We're going to, go to the nether world. I'm going to hell. I know that. So I'm just going to, drink and smoke and do all these horrible things that are, against the body because they have imbalances. Not saying that drinking and smoking is bad per se, but when you have imbalances, yes, you're going to be causing more imbalances, which can be eventually your death. So people are going to obviously expect it, rationalize it. They will write stories about it. Oh, they'll write stories of their, like, their feel good stories. Oh yeah, I had cancer and I changed my diet and did these protocols in New Mexico or Mexico, and look, I beat cancer. You beat your evolution. Basically, you put yourself on another death trajectory because you thought that cancer was something that was deathly. No, cancer was your evolution. And so now there's all these feel-good stories of like, oh, I beat cancer. No, you just basically found a different path to your death. Okay? So when there's an obvious and intentional death in the world, selling fear of death and dismemberment is a very easy emotional grabbing headline. And even my platform, which I know is based upon that because I'm trying to fight against it with the correct chemistry. So yes, when I'm in the, the insurance world, oh my God, fear of death is like the major platform. I got into insurance because I was tired of going to school and going, what the hell am I going to school for? There is nothing out there that I want to go and peddle that would be aligned with me innately. So guess what? I just went into a government-based type of job, which is selling insurance. And I'm a salesperson, okay? And don't get me wrong, You guys know I'm a great salesperson. I told you I'm a salesperson. Okay, so I know how to set myself apart from the rest. If I had the other skills, I probably would become a very awesome agent if I had the right tutelage. But no, I was being exploited by those that knew my strength as a salesman, but didn't have the strength in really building a business from the ground up because I had stupid PMDD that made me sit out for a week or so. So you can't be consistent and be productive when you are always climbing out of a hole every freaking month. So they figured out, and I figured out how to exploit my own strengths by just marketing. Okay, so life insurance is about at what point will they expect you to die, and then your premiums and the death benefit or the face amount is based upon if you can afford those premiums. Because yeah, you can always try to get like $1 million policy, but they're going to look at everything and they're gonna be like, okay, if you want $1 million policy, you gotta pay like, $2,000 a month for $1 million policy. So some people are be like, okay, well, I'm good with 50 or 60,000, 100,000, and paying like 50 or $100 a month. Okay, so the actuarial tables with life insurance are all based upon how they can kind of predict your death. And yes, the amount of antibodies in your body, all your different predispositions, your family medical history, all determine your premiums, as well as like even with driving a car and insurance for getting into accidents. Okay, that's all based upon also your lifestyle and all of your proclivities and your habits and all that stuff. So yeah, selling fear of death and dismemberment is huge, and it's a shit ton of money that people make off of that. So when there's obvious and intentional death in the world, well, intentional, yes. When you're selling monoclonal antibodies as a way to get the rest in peace, but they call it peace. Oh yeah, you don't want symptoms? Well, we'll give you some that give you some peace for a minute, but really it's rest in peace at the micro level, which will eventually translate to the macro level. But you expect to die anyway, so it's not really going to phase you when that day comes, right? So selling fear of death and dismemberment is a very easy, emotional grabbing headline that even my platform is based upon because I'm trying to fight against it with correct chemistry. But who am I and how am I different than anyone else who says they're trying to heal the world and change the world? Okay? And when you change the world, you're just creating another manufactured virtual reality that people have to go and respond to. And so, but the specific measure result for Jilly Juice is indefinite life in body, mind, and spirit. Not rationalize why you should go to the netherworld, and that is a religion world, is where they would people would rather die for their belief systems. I mean, look in China. People are trying to practice Christianity, and the if you do that, then the outcome, if they catch you with a cross or with a Bible, is that you will probably be taken to a re-education camp. But people are like, oh yeah, it's okay. I'm going to die for my belief system. I'm going to die for this. I'm going to die for that. That is the death program. That is the charismatic death programming. And so, yeah, you're going to see a huge amount of religious people just rationalize their way out the door. But that is all by design. Okay? So now, when there's no fear of death, what does the system have to use as leverage to get you to act or react? Well, why would they do that to begin with? Well, yeah, there's money for one, but also too, they were trying to build an infrastructure. England, all the West, Rome and all of that, all these different societies that rose and fell, they all needed the people to build the infrastructure and all the different support systems that go along with people building an infrastructure. And then you have to have a justice system, a legislative system, okay? You have to have an executive system. Someone like, a pope or a king or a queen or a freaking president. Okay, that's why our system, as far as our democratic system, is really no different than what goes on over there in England and other types of monarchy / parliamentary types of systems. There's always going to be one figurehead that's going to represent somebody's ideals, and they fight people against each other. And then you have the governing body that then is supposed to be a representation of the people, and yeah, they are, because they are your people, but you still have to have a system of control, which is the fear of death and dismemberment. Because yes, when you go anywhere, you're supposed to wear a safety belt, you're supposed to do a lot of things to mitigate against death, because they don't want their population to die. But no one has understood really what indefinite life is, so it's always about, okay, let's put the fear of death and the fear of God in people, and the fear of dismemberment in people, and that's how we're going to get them to control them to go to work, to take their prescription medication, to take all their remedies, to go get their checkups because you don't want to die from cancer, right? And to do all these different things that is going to inevitably put money in somebody else's pocket. Inevitably. You know, and the tantric sex and all the porn industry, that's based upon a death process because, yes, when you are dying, you're going to have to reproduce or you're going to mitigate it because that's how you mitigate against extinction, right? You drop in insurance policies. Oh, yeah, there's an insurance term right there. Reproduction is basically drop in insurance policies because they know at some point, your body knows that you don't know it well enough to stay around, so they're going to keep dropping kids. And then they're going to also market how do you create pleasure without dropping insurance policies? And that's the porn industry. So it's like now you see, so now with the whole thing with the jelly juice, you're not going to be easily controlled. Yeah, you're going to be like, oh crap, my dude down the street here, he's all like, political, and don't become a target. Don't take a side. Don't fall into that dichotomy, that duality programming of taking a side where you're inevitably going to be supporting something or denigrating something that you believe in or disbelieve in. Understand balance. And that's really what the politics, religion, science, they don't understand balance. They will never understand balance because that's not what their whole platform is predicated upon. Their whole platform is predicated upon taking a side and then falling within their specific system of control, which is getting you to go to work and support the infrastructure, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have 7 billion people who are fucking imbalanced, you got to find some kind of fear of something, which is basically death and dismemberment, to get them to do what you want them to do. And that's perfectly understandable. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like pragmatism. You find what works and you do what works. Okay? Shuggy, I know, I see you, baby. And so this is why jelly juice is so important, is that you take yourself out of the game of fear. You take yourself out of the game of the control at the massive level that you're seeing in politics, religion, and science. And you now exemplify peace, harmony, productivity, balance, peace. You're not, bullying somebody. You're not trying to tear somebody down. You're not trying to throw and goo somebody up with all your love, and hate, and whatever the hell emotional imbalance that you want to go and project to the world. You mind your own business. Yes, there are criminals out there, but it's none of your freaking business what they're doing. It's the business of your law enforcement to figure out what somebody's doing and hold them accountable. We should have nobody being a vigilante in our system. When someone fires at you, you don't fire back, you walk away. But you better make sure you sidestep that energy, that unwanted energy. And don't put yourself in a position where someone could fire at you. So that's why you mind your own business and you don't become the system. You're just, you're just your own entity that's trying to not only survive, but thrive and teach your children how to survive and thrive without being a victim of this duality programming, because it's not going to end anytime soon. We have 7 billion people. We have this virus that we know people are going to be dealing with, and they're going to be dealing with their predispositions. Every single arthritis, ovary issue, every single predisposition that you hold in your body is going to be affected by the COVID. Your back issues, any kind of reproductive issues, anything that you have as a predisposition that you know about or don't know about is going to be affected by the COVID-19, because viruses serve to upgrade. And if you don't have what it takes to upgrade, guess what? You're going to be in the hospital, or you'll be taking all your remedies to then accelerate the process. So Jilly Juice decelerates the death process, accelerates your life process, and now you have to feel the fucking pain. Yeah, it sucks. If you don't want to feel pain, then go see a doctor. That's why we don't give any advice in my group as far as remedies. We don't promote anti-inflammatory foods, because that is the antithesis of J Juice. And in this society right now, in this world, you can't afford to take on rest in peace remedies that are being promoted by the holistic, allopathic, and all the other charismatics and the gurus that want to play with your hormones. You can't afford to take on those protocols. You now have to really face, it's like do or die, literally do or die. Dr. Fauci and Trump and all these people out there talking about the COVID, they're saying we're entering into a dark period of America as well as the West, and they're not wrong. I felt all the different upgrades, but to me, on my body, it wasn't like anything horrible. It was just another upgrade that I could withstand. I'll tell you, a couple months ago, I had major headaches. A couple months ago, I had to deal with a bunch of stuff because my body was still trying to evolve. And the COVID just accelerated the evolution. But those of you that still hold predispositions, not only my recipe, but the COVID is going to accelerate your evolution. And if you don't appreciate that and you want to stop it, and you think that, oh yeah, I didn't have to deal with my arthritis too much until I got onto the new Julie Juice recipe or until whatever, well, you better be freaking thankful that your body is able to regenerate. You better be freaking thankful that the recipe exists, that it's finally been finely tuned and so strategic that now you can now enjoy your evolution and not mischaracterize it. But you also have to give your time and you give your body the time to be able to heal. Stop trying to play in a game that right now you have no business playing in, which is trying to like work as much as you can and not commit to your evolution. Because at some point you're going to have to deal with all of your predispositions. There's no running away from it, or yeah, there is. It's called rest in peace. There's rest in peace at the micro level, and there's rest in peace at the macro level. As above, so below, microcosm, macrocosm, micro level, macro level, everything is a snapshot of each other, and the only difference is scale. Scale is the only difference between micro and the macro. So if you want to alleviate symptoms like that, then you have to go see a doctor, and they will take out organs, they will anesthetize you, they will find ways to use your own body against you so you don't have to feel your evolution, and then eventually your outcome is going to be predictable on the death trajectory. And so yes, the ultimate control is fear of death and dismemberment. And when you're on the Julie Juice and you realize really what Julie Juice is about, there'll be no fear of death or dismemberment. There's enough indicators out there, there's enough of the safety measures out there that the government put in place to make sure that you don't die from something stupid. Okay? When you go into a car, you wear a seatbelt. You look both ways where you cross the street. You don't eat or drink something that says not FDA approved if it's like a commercially sold product. We have measures in place to protect people from actual immediate death. But, you know, in our society where you don't know who the enemy is and you don't realize the enemy is you, you're going to lay blame on everyone else but yourself. And that's the ultimate, you know, politics, religion, and science, where you're looking for an enemy and you're looking for a savior out there, but you never look within, never take personal responsibility, and you're always blaming, or you're always trying to, you know, get somebody to parasite off of. And so, you know, so at this point, it does not surprise me now in November 2nd, right before the election, I've had this epiphany that yes, death and dismemberment is the ultimate, the fear of death is the ultimate control. And it's so pervasive against with all politics, with all religion, and all science. Just look, the evidence is out there. Come on, how are they selling you into buying all your products? How are they selling you into buying all these different protocols? Oh, I don't want to die, but it's okay if I die, like, you know, in 20 years or 10 years. That's the misalignment of the body, mind, and spirit. When you say you want to live, but you do everything that's the complete antithesis of, and then you demonize things like salt. You demonize things like fermented cabbage juice because, oh, it's rotten. It's not rotten. It's called fermentation. It's called using your microbiome to your advantage. You are your microbiome. You are viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. You are all of that and then some. And then you are a reflection of your environment. So if there's a COVID-19 or any other freaking strain of a virus, your body is going to have to be a reflection of that in some way, shape, or form. And if you fight against it, you're just fighting against yourself. You're causing your own acceleration of your death process. You have to understand how to adapt to your surroundings in this manufactured world of change. When you have people, so many people, 7 million people constantly evolving or devolving, you're going to have to adapt to all the de-evolution, evolution, but still evolve. That's what is so beautiful about J-Juice, is that despite what goes on around you, you can still evolve and thrive and be relatively happy, balanced, productive, harmonious. Take yourself out of the war. You don't become a vigilante. You mind your own business. You don't try to impose J-Juice on somebody else. You drop seeds here and there, and then you walk away, and you hope that they can have enough to water it and cultivate it and make it their own. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. And knowing when to pull back from people, because I'm telling you, people will usurp your energy because they don't know what else to do except glom onto you. But you got to allow people to give them the option to choose their path. And that's what the Freemasons have done. That's why the Freemasons exist. And, you know, and the Pope is like the head, the order, and the Freemasons give you the choice. And there you go. You have all the choices in front of you. And thank God for America. Thank God I'm in America. So now I can appreciate America. Because, yes, no matter what, if you believe in death, death is inevitable. And we have 7 billion people that want to scale down from 7 billion to 500 million. And now you have a choice. It's not the extinction agenda. It's called the depopulation agenda. You don't have to be depopulated, but you have to understand the rules that are that what it takes to live. And those that have a lot of money will be able to afford taking those different protocols to give them a few years. Okay, but it's still, those that have a lot of money and are not doing JJ's, their time is a ticking too. They're not immune to the be taking accountability for their belief systems. I mean, look Ruth Gator Ginsburg. I mean, she's in the Supreme Court. You think that she would be privy to some of this esoteric knowledge, if that even exists, as far as the indefinite life? Or is she going to be then taken out of the scene and then going somewhere and taking jelly juice and regenerate and then like, oh wow, in the next 20 years, you look like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You look just like her. Oh yeah, I'm her daughter or some shit. I don't know. Who knows? But I'm just saying, you guys, that is the ultimate. I figured it out. The ultimate systems of control is the fear of death and dismemberment. And when you're on the Jilly Juice, you're not gonna have that fear of death and dismemberment. And then guess what? You're out of the war. You're not in fear anymore. You finally are at peace. That is the ultimate next new world. Is peace in body, mind, and spirit. Because you have no fear of death of natural causes. Now, yeah, if there's a tornado that comes through and you weren't privy, or yes, a direct energy weapon comes out of the sky and you have no control or no indicator that something's gonna happen, well, yeah, spontaneous combustion, you can't, which somebody might say, oh yeah, if you really think that someone is being targeted by the system. But no, if you're living in our regular society and there isn't like that advanced technology that you're privy to, like teleportation, where you have the potential to be vaporized, right? Then you'll be able to survive in the systems that we have in place and thrive and be productive. And you'll have boundaries, you'll know your boundaries, you'll give your boundaries, and all you do is just live. Have a good day. I got things to do. Bye.